Hello and welcome back to Underdog Investing. So today I'd like to talk about how to find the next 10 bagger. Now, I feel like nowadays we have so many articles out there talking about the next 10x investment, but by the time me or you actually find out about these articles, it's usually already too late because the stock's already had a massive run up. So that's why I wanted to make a video to talk about 4 quick and easy steps that we can take to guide our investment decisions and hopefully help us find the next 10x investment before the mainstream media actually catch on to these. Now to do this, I want to use the Quinta case study. And before I jump into the video, I'd be grateful if you can smash that like button and subscribe to the channel for future updates. Now, the Quinta case study. So I'm sure most of you know who this man is. So his name is Peter Lynch, and he's a mutual fund manager for Magellan Fund. Now, between 1977 and 1990, he averaged an annual return of 29.2%, which is phenomenal. So if we have a look at the numbers, you can see that if you invested $1,000 in 1977, 13 years later in 1990, that $1,000 becomes $42,544. That's actually more than a 42x return on your investment. So yeah, he's basically a legendary investor. And the reason why I bring him up is because I actually take this Quinta case study from his book, One Up Wall Street, which if you haven't read it already, I would definitely recommend it because although it's quite an old book, it definitely gives you extremely good investment principles that would definitely help you in your investing career. Now let's jump straight into it because they're very quick and simple points. So Peter Lynch was invested in United Inns, which was the largest franchisor of Holiday Inns. And he was actually in search of other opportunities in the hotel industry. So what he did was he asked the vice president of United Inns, who is your most successful competitor? To which the vice president replied, the Quinta Motor Inns. So that leads us to the first lesson, which is competition equals potential investing opportunities. And the good thing about competition is they're usually smaller in size so they can grow faster. And they're also less well known, which means that they're usually undervalued. Now let's move on. So what he did was he quickly set up a meeting with Walter Beegler, who's the vice president at La Quinta Motor Inns. Now, Walter Beegler quickly explained the business model, and he said that we provide the same quality rooms as United Inns, but for 30% lower price. So Peter Lynch was a bit skeptical about that at that point, because how could you provide 30% lower price for similar quality rooms? So he asked that question, and later on he discovered that La Quinta Motor Inns streamlined their business model, and they eliminated things like wedding receptions, conference rooms, and restaurants. This led to it being 30% cheaper to build a La Quinta Motor Inns, and if you're 30% cheaper to build, you can actually charge 30% lower for price. Which leads us to our second lesson, which is checking the numbers. Sometimes when something sounds too good to be true, it usually is too good to be true. So it's very important that you actually do the quantitative research and make sure that the numbers add up. And what's interesting just to point out is that 95% of complaints in the hotel industry actually come from the restaurant. So by eliminating that, you're eliminating things like massive complaints. So moving on to the next point. The next question that Peter Lynch asked was, what is La Quinta Motor Inn's niche? So what they found out is that La Quinta Motor Inns targets small businessmen. They have a cheaper product for similar quality, and they are located in more convenient locations. So things like business districts, industrial complexes, and hospitals. So the third lesson is, what is their competitive advantage? The thing is, larger companies, for example, in this case, United Inns, you usually have a bigger brand image. So it's very important that these smaller competition have a niche to compete and take market share. And then moving on to the final and very simple point, Peter Lynch spent 3 nights in 3 different La Quinta Motor Inns locations. So he did everything from jumping on the beds, tugging on the curtains and squeezing the towels. And finally, once he's actually tested the product, he actually eventually ended up investing in a company. And he invested in it, and it became an 11 bagger in 10 years, which is 1,100% gain. So that's an incredible investment. And you can see that it wasn't by accident. Everything that he did in terms of these 4 steps led him to this calculated decision to invest in this company. So that's basically the end of the video. And in summary, the first point is competition is potential opportunity. The second point is check the numbers against the story. The third point is what's your niche or competitive advantage. And finally, test the product. So that's the end of the video. If you found it enjoyable, I'll be grateful if you can smash that like button and subscribe to the channel. Now, I'd also love to hear your thoughts in the comment section down below. Have you ever used any of the above steps to help guide your investment decisions? And if you found it useful in any way, I'll be grateful if you can share this video. Thank you so much for listening.